All right, folks, welcome back to the Dustin Disc channel as I bring you a recap from the latest tournament I just played. It was the Southside Smackdown in Mobile, Alabama. It was 2 rounds on the same day. The first round we played was a version of the Muni Red course that I played in my disc golf date video. However, some holes were changed around quite a lot to make them a little bit longer and a bit more difficult. And then the second round was at the University of South Alabama, which I have a few videos on that course already on the channel as well. And I'm not going to lie to you folks, this tournament was a real doozy for me. It was tough conditions. It was raining the vast majority of the time. So obviously the rain impacted disc staying dry and therefore getting a good grip on the disc. It impacted the ground, causing a lot of mud and making it hard to find good footing. And just all in all, it made it very difficult to play at my best. And everyone was dealing with this though, right? So at the end of the day, we all played under the same conditions. I got a little bit unlucky where it seemed like the worst patches of rain hit on the most difficult portions of the course, making them even harder than they already were. So that was a little bit unlucky. And honestly, I also just felt like my putts, I was just getting really unlucky with them. But a lot of it was also just me not putting well. That was probably the theme of the day, is just my putting was atrocious. And so I'm going to kind of go through some of these rounds. I didn't film everything because the rain made it very difficult to film at times. And so not every shot will be here, of course, but we'll, just talk through it and let you know what was going on and what was going through my head and just, kind of give you my thoughts of the event as well as just give you some footage to watch. Now, we did not film the first 2 holes that I played. I started on hole 9 on the Muni Red course, and so we didn't film holes 9 and 10 just due to heavy rain. On hole 9, I wound up parring it, which was, according to the game plan, that's exactly what I expected. It was a little over 400-foot shot, and it was a very technical shot, and so I knew that I didn't really have a chance to get a birdie on that, so I just played smart. Got my par on the first hole and felt really good about that. Now, hole 10 was a pretty short, like 240-foot shot, which I felt like I should have been able to get. I had a great tee shot. I think I was only maybe 15 or 20 feet from the basket off the tee, so I threw a really good tee shot, but then I just missed the putt. I hit some change. I fell off the basket, and so I got a par on that, even though I felt like I should have got a birdie. And so now this is the third hole I played, hole 11 on the course, and this is my drive. This is where my drive landed, and as you can see, I'm not that far from the basket, so I have a chance to get a birdie here coming into this shot. Again, having a little bit of trouble finding good footing due to just, flooding and mud and all that good stuff. But, yeah, this is, me trying to give it a chance. And as you see, I'm just a little too low, hit the top of the basket, so I don't make it. And so now we're at hole 12. And this was interesting because this is completely different from any of the holes that you would have seen on my disc golf date video. We're actually throwing over this spillway, and this is a 430-foot shot to get to the pin. It's a beautiful shot. It's a lot of fun to play, but definitely just way out of reach for me distance-wise. So I knew I was just playing for par here. And I actually did get a pretty good rip on this. But I actually wound up hitting one of these poles. And so it kind of kicked me back a little bit. But it still certainly gave me, a reasonable chance to approach and get the par. And I was able to put a forehand up there and walk away with the par. And I knew that I was going to par this hole. That was kind of, part of the plan. And as you can see, the rain's starting to pick up a little bit here. So get a par. And so now I'm at even par. Now, this was a little bit fast. I do apologize for that. This is a very short shot, though. This is similar to one of the holes in the Muni Red course. They just kind of moved the tee over a little bit to the left when it used to be kind of over here. And so a very short, easy shot. But unfortunately, I just didn't get a good grip on the disc. And so I wound up yanking it to the left too much. And so even though I don't have far to putt to get a birdie here, you can see there's a lot of limbs in my way. And so that really kind of made things difficult. And yeah, that's another par for me. So now we move on to hole 14, and this one really hurts. And I'll play this one twice, so we'll just walk through it the first time. Maybe you'll notice what happened here. If not, I'm going to highlight it in a second. But normally this hole is easy for me. I feel really comfortable throwing the forehand here, and usually I park this basket, get a birdie, no problem. This time around, didn't happen. And if you didn't catch that, if you just watch my left foot as I release the disc, just in this area right here, you can very clearly see right there, it slid a little bit to the left, and that's what threw my disc off more to the left than it should have been, which instead of this landing on the bottom side of the hill and being very close to the basket for an easy birdie putt, I wound up staying on the other side of this little slope and giving me a much further putt for a birdie. So I'm still trying to see if I can't salvage it despite being further away than normal. And I just threw a little too high. And yeah, it's starting to pile on at this point. You can kind of see me kind of getting a little bit down. And that's because when I played a practice round at this course the day before the event, I actually shot 8 under par. So I shot really, really well. And at this point in time, I have now played 3 holes that I had birdied in practice and now have parred them here. And I knew that I needed to birdie those holes because they were the easier holes, the shorter holes. Some of them were a lot more open, so the lines were a lot easier to hit. And I knew that I needed to get those birdies to, be competitive because it was only going to get more difficult on some of the future holes that were coming up. And so, yeah, you've already seen me miss a few putts here and getting some bad positions. And so, a couple of the pars I got, I planned on getting, and I was happy about getting them because I knew that they were going to be almost impossible to birdie. So I was fine with that, like the 2 longer holes that I played. But now I've played like 3 fairly short holes that I feel like I should have birdied and I haven't. And so I'm still even par. I haven't done any like bad damage to my score yet, but I'm not getting birdies I should be getting to be competitive in the division. And that one, though, I just feel like I got really unlucky with the slip. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit frustrated. Now, this hole is really difficult. Unfortunately, you can't see the basket, but it's basically right behind these trees here. It's maybe like 275 or something like that. It's not that far, but the sidewalk over here and anything to the left of it played as out of bounds. So it was a very tight fairway, a very skinny strip of land that you could land your disc on and still be safe. There's also some water on the this side of the trees facing towards me that you could hit that would be out of bounds, and obviously all this water to the right is going to be out of bounds. And so I'm trying to play along the water line, then have it fade left and get close to the basket for a birdie is kind of the game plan here. Trying to play something relatively safe, but I'm also trying to get down there and give myself a chance to birdie because I know that I need to start getting some birdies on the card here to, try to stay competitive. And out of my hand, this shot looked beautiful. I'm really loving this. It's looking great. But as you can see there, it bounced over the sidewalk. I didn't see it at first, but one of the people on my car did. And so luckily, it went out of bounds very close to the basket. And it was a beautiful flight. So I was really happy with the throw. It was just a really skinny fairway, really hard to land. It was basically like an island green. So I was able to save the par. So now I'm still even par. Now this hole was about 360, 370. So that's just a little bit out of my range to be able to reach the basket for like a close putt. So I knew going into this that it was going to have to be a far putt to get me a birdie here. I also didn't throw this particularly well. I threw it really high, kind of nose up, so I didn't push it as far as I normally could. So I probably could have been about like 15 or 20 feet closer to the basket if I had thrown better. Maybe a little closer. I still would have had like a far like 40-foot putt, though. This is probably like 60, 70-foot putt. Just trying to get it up there, give it a chance, but not throw it too hard and go past that sidewalk because that sidewalk was out of bounds. And so I'll just take another par here, so staying even par. So again, so far, no big damage, but I'm just not scoring the way I want to. Now, this is my next opportunity to get a birdie. Very technical uphill shot. The basket's basically between these 2 pine trees right here, but it's really uphill. There's a lot of trees in the way. I think it was only like 170 to like 200 feet, though. It's very short, but it's technical. So I just pushed a forehand. I knew that would be accurate. I landed a little bit shorter of where I wanted to be, but still certainly a chance for a birdie here. Straddle putt, though, and I have to get around this tree. Now I was able to sneak it in on the right side of that tree from a straddle. So that's my first birdie. So now I'm 1 under par. And now I'm thinking, all right, maybe this is where the floodgates open and I start making my comeback. Now this one, again, a new hole for this course, made for this tournament. This is not that far, but it's very downhill. And the basket, you can't really see it here, but it's on top of this like elevated wooded platform. And so you have to push something, through these trees and then have it, fade towards this wooden platform to give you a chance for a birdie. And the other issue is there is a ditch behind the wooden platform all the way alongside here, which if you go too deep of the wooden platform in the basket and you're surrounded by water, it's out of bounds. Now, if you land on like a rock or some grass on the hillside, it would still be considered inbounds. And so that's what I'm trying to contest with. So I throw a forehand, again, just to make sure I hit my gap. I thought it was looking pretty good. It's out here. It's curving right. But unfortunately, it went too deep. And here's where I am. Now, again, if I had landed somewhere in this grass or rocks or something like that, then I would have still been in bounds and I could have still approached for a par, which in practice, I threw a lot of shots on this hole because it was one of the harder ones for me. And never once did I go too deep. Every time the deepest I ever went was like over here somewhere. And yeah, unfortunately, I just juiced it too much. And so now I'm just trying to pitch it up there to get a bogey. knowing that there's no way I'm hitting this shot to get my par. So I just try to, put it somewhere safe to make sure I can get my 4 and get out of there, stay even par for the round since I got a birdie on the previous hole. And, pretty straightforward putt here. I mean, this one still hurts to watch. If you look at this, when I putt, I mean, it's dead center. It's hitting all the chains. There is not one piece of my disc that is not touching the chains of this basket. And I threw it really soft. It looks like it's in there. And then somehow it just catches the side of the basket instead of sticking and literally just plops right next to the basket. This guy is shocked. He thought I made it already. And then he heard it fall, and then he kind of pauses, and we're all just in dismay. Like, I just couldn't believe that happened. So I'm not taking a 5 on that hole instead of a 4. So now I'm 1 over on the round. Now, I didn't record holes 1 and 2 because the rain picked up again. And I took a double bogey on hole 1, and I think I parred hole 2. So I think at this point, I'm like 3 over par for the round. And that's just not good. Like, you can't shoot over par at this course and be at all competitive in the intermediate division. So things are not looking good. I'm trying to salvage things. We're on hole 3 now. And, I nailed this gap. I threw it perfect. I got the fade left I needed, and, I'm right next to the basket. That was a really good tee shot. So now I just have, like, a short 15, 20-foot putt for birdie to try to start chipping away at being over par and trying to, get back to a good score. I just putt short. And at this point, all confidence is gone. Like, after that chain out on, hole 18 on that wooden platform, and after that, I just have no faith anymore that I'm going to make a putt. Like, I just feel like I've had so many putts that look dead on and have spit out or just barely fallen short. And there's a couple of other putts that aren't on video that did something very similar where it just kind of chained out, looked like it was in. And so I feel like now I've had like 4 or so putts I should have hit that I haven't. And I'm rattled at this point. I'm kind of mentally out of it. I'm trying to keep my composure, but I'm losing confidence fast. And so this is like kind of a crazy little uphill shot. Basically the same hole as one of the holes from a previous video. This one hasn't really changed. Unfortunately, I didn't get enough of a skip on the ground and didn't get enough fade to the left. So I'm, pin high, but way off. And now I got this little tree in my way. I'm going to try to force something through it anyway, see if I can't somehow get a birdie. But yeah, branches said no. So that's going to be another par for me. Now, this is a new hole from the last time I played this course, so a little bit tougher. Tried to flex a forehand through the gap, but it's a very tight gap, and I just didn't push it left enough initially. So it leaves me with a very, very long putt for birdie. This is probably like 60 feet or so out. And that felt good. I finally hit a good putt. And that gave me like only my second birdie of the round. I'm still like 3 over par at this point or something like that, I think. So yeah, I'm still not doing great, but it was nice to hit that. Unfortunately, the very next hole I bogeyed. And so I took my birdie away immediately. And so my confidence was once again immediately smashed. And so now we're on to hole 7. This is one of the last holes that I play in this first round. You can see all these flags over here out of bounds, and I just barely stayed in bounds there. I think I was maybe only like a couple of feet from going out of bounds in that situation, but I stayed in. Far putt for birdie, but my main goal was just staying in bounds, and I was able to accomplish that, so that was nice. So now I'm just going for my long birdie putt. Just do a little too high. Almost on, just a little too high, so I'm going to par that. Then this is the last hole, and I just turned that disc over way too much. It's not coming back, buddy. Fan. All right, so that ends the first round because the basket's like over here by this dead tree. And so I was trying to throw something that would like kind of flip right, but then start to straighten out like right around here so I could get up to the basket. But it didn't straighten out in time. It just kept going right. And so this is the end of the first round for me. I think I wound up shooting either 4 or 5 over par, which put me out of like a 36-player division, I think at this point I was tied for like 26th or something like that. So I wasn't like dead last, but I was in the bottom, 15 players. I was not doing good. And so now we go over to the University of South Alabama, and this is the starting hole. We started on hole 8, which you've seen this hole before on my South Alabama videos. So this is the hole we start on, but as you can see, this is so muddy. It is just so hard to get good footing. And so I wound up yanking this disc to the right a little bit too much, but I'm able to get in. Tricky approach shot, though, with all these trees and benches and everything. Apparently this hole is getting taken out in the future from this course, so maybe one of the last times I ever played this hole. Approach, and okay, so I have not been putting well in the first round. We're now on my first hole in the second round. I have a reasonable par putt here. I'm maybe like 20 feet away, 25 at most. I'm trying to, do my mental reset, just realize that, hey, all those missed putts from before are gone. Just focus up, get this one. And I know that this course is very difficult. It's got teeth, and so there's a chance that I could still make a push up the leaderboard if people start to struggle, since this course can be very difficult. Definitely more difficult than the previous course we played. But not even close. And now, again, I feel like there's no chance for me anymore. Like, my confidence is shattered. I get the bogey there. Next hole, over the water shot, hole 9. Change the location a bit, but, again, very similar shot. Threw a nice tee shot there. Put myself in position to get a birdie. And I get it. So that actually put me back to even par for the round. Now I moved on to hole 10. Very long par 3, like 380 and uphill. So just trying to get a par here. Still trying to get some good distance, though. And unfortunately, I turned this disc over too much. It didn't fade left soon enough. So I'm stuck way back here on the right-hand side. Not far, but just a lot I have to punch through. And you can see I don't really have the best footing, and there's a tree right in my way. So I'm trying to, like, force a forehand around, and I just throw it way too short. And so this sets me up for a very long par putt. And I sail it over the basket. So that's going to put me at a bogey on this hole. And so now I'm back to 1 over par. Here's a couple of holes later. Tee shot, slips out my hand, and rip right into a tree. And at this point, I kind of just stopped filming because the rain gets really bad, as you can see in this clip. I mean, it's pouring at this point. And it was like this for, I would say, 70% of my round at South Alabama. Like, for like a 6 or 7 hole stretch, after the shots you just saw, I was dealing with this pretty much the whole round, as everyone was. This is a birdie putt I was trying to hit, and I just, low again, miss it. So at this point, I'll just kind of play through the footage one last time and just kind of give you some final thoughts while this plays in the background. Yeah, it was just one of those things where I feel like I put in a ton of time to practice for this event. I've played like 3 or 4 practice rounds on each course leading up to the event over the last like several weeks as I built up to the event. My tee shots were feeling really, really good in practice. And in the event, my tee shots were pretty good on the first course. There was only a couple of mishaps off the tee I had this entire first round. My putting was absolutely atrocious. And some of it was just me being bad, me missing my putts, me throwing disc too low or throwing the disc a little too hard and so it would bounce out. Or, I would throw a little too hard and so I would go over the basket or hit like the top railing or something like that out of the basket like I do on this putt coming up here in just a second. But some of it I felt like I was just getting really unlucky with, honestly, like not the greatest quality baskets, particularly on hole 18, that chain out on the wooden platform. I just feel like a normal basket that wouldn't have happened. But all in all, it's still my bad. I still did not putt well. There was, even if I feel like I got unlucky on 1 or 2 putts, there were like 6 or more putts in this round that I missed that I probably should have hit. So, yeah, I just, got in my own head, just missing way too many putts, despite the fact I felt like I was, hitting some good shots off the tee and having some good approach shots. And my confidence just got shattered at that point. And then once we go into the second round at South, I mean, all confidence was gone after I missed that first putt on the first hole that we played, and then the rain started just really pouring and I was just completely out of it at that point. I just wanted to just get my round over with and get home and get in the shower because things were just not going well. And so with that said, I mean, I just feel like I lost my confidence in my putt, which putting used to be a really big strength of mine in other tournaments I've played. And just in general, when I play rounds on this channel, my putting is usually pretty solid. Maybe not like super far putts, but, you know, putts within the first 20 feet, I usually make the vast majority of those when I go play. And I was barely getting any of them this tournament. And even now, like, if I go out in my backyard, like right this instant after I get done putting this video out and I try to go putt, I just can't make anything. Like, I just have no confidence that I can make a putt right now. And that's something I'm just going to have to work through. You know, build my confidence back up by just practicing a lot and maybe making some tweaks to how I putt and how I practice putting, and, you know, see if I can't somehow get that back under control. And then I just need to work on my backhand form more. You know, I need to be getting more distance. You know, I can't max out at 330 feet and expect to do well on these longer par threes that are, you know, bordering 400 feet or maybe even a little higher than that. So that's something I can still work on by just improving my backhand form, which is something I've really been working on behind the scenes. But at the same time, I feel like I need a little bit of a break and a little bit of a mental reset. You know, I played almost every day for 3 weeks preparing for this event, and I feel like none of the practice really translated. I did not perform anywhere close to where I performed in practice, or this putt, just watching this again, God, that makes me sad. I can't believe that happened. But yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I think I'm going to have to take a break from playing for a little bit, maybe take like a week off. Should eventually get back to putting some content on the channel, maybe like a week or so. But I probably won't play tournaments for a little while. I'll probably take a break from competing in any tournaments and just try to work on getting better, work on getting my confidence back, work on my mental game, you know, tidy up what I need to tidy up, and maybe in the future I can do something. But anyway, thanks for watching this video. Thanks for, you know, following other content on the channel. I'm sorry this has been kind of a Debbie Downer tone for me, but it was just a rough day, and reliving it by watching this footage just brings back some bad memories. But you know, it's kind of therapy at the same time to kind of talk through it, and maybe this will help other new players who go through similar mental struggles when they play events and things don't go their way. You just have to try your best to put it to the side, try your best to, you know, keep your head up. Unfortunately, I let the negative feelings get the better of me on event day in the midst of all of it, and now I'm just having to kind of put it away, let the past be the past, and just try to focus on the future, put out more content, keep practicing, and see if I can't break through later on. But competition for a bit will be on pause. But I have some cool news coming later. Like, I think I'm going to be commentating some tournaments coming up soon in the local area of the Southeast, which is going to be cool because I get to kind of translate some of my esports commentary skills into disc golf commentary. So that could be cool. So be on the lookout for that news. And yeah, other than that, just follow and subscribe to the channel and all the social media so you can keep up to date with future content, as well as potentially me commentating some coverage that'll be featured in other channels. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for coming to Dustin Disc, and catch you next time.